Hi, my name is Megan Seha, and I'm the school psychologist intern at Montague Charter Academy, a K-5 public charter school in the Los Angeles area. I will be presenting a workshop that I conducted for parents on special education referral process. So the first question that many parents ask is, my child is struggling, where do I begin? Where do I get the help? At Montague Charter, the referral process consists of student study team meetings and the response to intervention tiered process, which includes the Learning Center. At the student study team meeting, you may see a general education teacher, an administrator, coordinator of student support, the psychologist, occupational therapist, speech and language pathologist, the nurse, and others as appropriate. The purpose of having this meeting is to review attendance and school history, health and family history, intervention history, environmental factors, and determine the next steps to helping the student. Here is the RTI roadmap that I created that is specific to Montague. As you can see, all students begin at the Tier 1 Universal Access level, which provides all students with the best practices to support the core curriculum material in their general education classroom with their regular teacher. If a student is struggling, they move up to Tier 1 Intensive. This is when the teacher creates a Tier 1 action plan that outlines the strategies interventions used to help the student and monitors progress. This is still being done in the general education classroom with the regular teacher. If the student, however, continues to struggle, then they move up to Tier 2. This is scheduled time in the Learning Center that provides targeted small group instruction. If they continue to struggle, then the student moves up to Tier 2 Intensive. This is individualized help that is provided to the student by the Learning Center teacher. It is important to note that our goal is to keep or return all students to the Tier 1 in their classroom with their regular teacher. That is why some of the arrows are pointing back down, because if a student is successful, then they move down the tier. If they are not, then they move up the tier. So my child is still struggling. What are the next steps? The student study team will meet and determine if the interventions in place have been successful. If the student has not made adequate progress despite outstanding attendance in prior interventions, then a special education evaluation may be recommended. However, there are things to consider before moving on to that next step. Here are some of the reasons why a student might not qualify for special education services. These include limited school experience, poor school attendance, environmental, cultural, or economic disadvantage, vision, hearing, and or motor problems, lack of instruction in reading or math, limited English proficiency. Now, there are students who do have these factors. However, it's important to distinguish whether these factors are the primary reason why the student is struggling or not. Assessment process and timelines. If a written notice is given to the school by the parent, either informally or formally, the school has 15 days to respond. At Montague, the response is facilitated through an SST meeting, which of course the parent is invited to attend. It's important to remember that schools are not obligated to conduct an evaluation just because the parent asked for one. The school must only evaluate if it suspects a disability, and many schools will not suspect this disability if interventions haven't been put in place first. At Montague, academic intervention services are provided through the Learning Center. If assessment is agreed upon by the Individualized Education Program team, the IEP team, or the SST team, written consent is needed before anyone begins assessment with the student. The IEP team then has 60 days to complete an assessment and hold an IEP meeting. So what is assessment? Assessment involves not just testing. It involves a review of records such as the CUME comments, attendance, intervention history, state testing, health and family background, language acquisition information if the student is an English language learner, previous evaluations, and other data. It also involves observations of students in various settings, such as the general education classroom, sometimes during recess and lunch, It also involves interviews with the teachers, parents, and others relevant to the student's educational history and program, and involves testing. Many times it involves cognitive or ability testing, academic achievement testing, processing tests, social emotional assessment, and so forth. So who is the IEP team and who should be present at the meetings? At the meetings, one or both parents should be present, a general education teacher, at least one special education teacher and or a service provider, school district representative, who can be an assistant principal, director of student support, the individuals who conducted the assessment, other people with specific expertise or knowledge of the student, such as an outside counselor, and the student when appropriate. As the students get older, in the middle and high school level, they are encouraged and invited to be part of their IEP meetings. So there are what I call 13 doors into special education. I will not go into all 13 eligibilities in detail. Some of the more common ones are autism, other health impaired, for ADHD, emotional disturbance, and specific learning disability. It's important to remember that school personnel, such as the school psychologist, does not diagnose a student with any type of disability or disorder such as autism. They simply make a student eligible for services under these eligibilities that are stated in the Ed Code. So here's a nice visual of what the IEP process looks like. As we learned earlier, the process begins with the referral process. Then that triggers the evaluation, which takes 60 days, and an IEP meeting is held. At the meeting, eligibility is determined and an IEP is created for the student. Placement is discussed with the entire team and agreed upon, and progress is monitored on an ongoing basis. Here's a visual if the student does not qualify. The referral process begins, the evaluation is conducted, eligibility is determined, and the student is not found eligible for special education services. Therefore, the student does not receive an IEP, placement is not discussed, they remain in their general education classroom, and IEP goals are not set. Lastly, it is important that whether your child has an IEP or not, that you work alongside Montague's great teachers and staff in ensuring the success of your child. Some of our top expectations here at Montague are that parents attend all student-centered meetings, such as parent conferencing, SSTs, IEP team meetings, START meetings, which are student attendance review team meetings. It is important that parents follow through with home support and ongoing communication with the school. For example, if the teacher and the parent agree on some type of behavioral support plan that the parent will reward the student also at the end of the day or at the end of the week, or some type of intervention that has home follow through, it is important that our parents always follow through with the recommendations that are provided at school, and of course to provide a safe and nurturing environment at home. Thank you for attending this presentation.